Hello, this is Mr. Maximus Film. It's August. It's time for a review. It's been a week and a couple of days since I did my last Pink Floyd review. It's time to get going. I'll try to put out videos regularly on Sunday. But this Sunday I had things going on, a lot of birthdays going around, and I couldn't. But today I'm back, and we're gonna do soundtrack from the film More by Pink Floyd. This is Pink Floyd's third full studio album. The first one where Syd Barrett is not featured at all on the album. On Saxophone, he did a couple things, did a couple guitars, had a song, and now he's gone. David Gilmour sings all the songs on this album, and he just fully initiated into the Floyd. So this is obviously a soundtrack from the film More, released 1969, and it plays that way. It's very disoriented. A couple songs go together, but none of them it doesn't have the same feel throughout the entire album. A lot of jerks and jumps between song and song, so the flow is just awful. Which you want to see in an album. You want to see a nice flow. But because it's a soundtrack, and because it's just going with the movements of the film, you can't really expect a fantastic flow. Because this album wasn't even, it was made as a soundtrack. Pink Floyd played this music over the rough cut of the film. That's how Pink Floyd did their soundtracks. They saw the rough cut of the film, and they just started playing mood music over it, which is what this album is. Worst Pink Floyd album, I don't know. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to their last two albums yet because I have a lot of other music to listen to. So I can't really say it's the worst one, but so far of the Pink Floyd records I've heard, which is everything except for the last two albums, this is the worst. So let's go over the packaging before I get into the music, because I love the packaging. Well, I just like Pink Floyd's packaging usually. This sort of vibrant orange feel. You see these two people skipping over to a windmill. And this sort of nice little contrast of the orange and blue. And the funny thing is, played and composed by the Pink Floyd. I love it when people call them the Floyd or the Pink Floyd, so that's fun to see on the actual record. More, and then the track listing. And you see this couple looking out into this landscape. I haven't seen the film More. It's sort of this hippie film that nobody's ever seen before, so why should I see it? All I care about is the soundtrack. So the problem with this, like I said before, is there's a lot of different styles and themes in this album, and it sort of gets mix-match weirdness. You go from pastoral, serious minor, then into this hard rock Nile song, and that's just weird to listen to, and there's a lot of different themes. There's a lot of pastoral folk, like Serious Minor, which is sort of this very psychedelic, rolling folk song with sound effects of birds and all that stuff that Pink Floyd likes to do. And then you get Green is the Color, which is another good folk song. It's sort of this, just David Gilmour singing with his guitar, and there's this little flute playing in the background. It's cool. And then Cymbeline sort of in between. It's has a lot of acoustic and bongos and all that, piano stuff. So it's kind of acoustic, and it's a very cool song. And then you get a contrast with a lot of heavy metal, hard rock from 1969. That's when heavy metal started to become its own genre, and Pink Floyd kind of does it in this album. Ibza Bar, I think that's how you pronounce it, and the Nile song. Both of them have the same chord progression, and that's the problem with it. They both sound the same, except for Bar has a little more echo and more psychedelia attached to it. The Nile song is more straight hard rock. But they both have the same chord progression throughout the entire thing, going from, a whole step down in the chord. And that's what they do throughout the entire thing. It's complicated, but it's the same thing, and it sounds like the same song, but like a reprise of it, and it doesn't necessarily work. There's a lot of tracks, so I often forget. And then, with those two overlaying genres that you see in this album. Then you get a lot of filler. Party sequence is obviously just made for this film. It's just a bunch of bongos. A Spanish Piece is just sort of David Gilmour making fun of Mexicans, talking about gringos and tequila over this weird flamingo guitar sort of thing. So that's a throwaway track. Crying Song is another acoustic song. That's a good song. It's sort of this rolling, sort of psychedelic, but it gets boring after a while. Main theme, dramatic theme are basically the same thing. Same riff, sort of the same bass riff that's very cool, but it gets boring. Then we come... And More Blues is David Gilmour sort of improvising this blues guitar solo, and it's basically a very long 2-minute guitar solo that's boring, not as exciting as the ones you will find in Dark Side of the Moon. Pushing all that, filler aside, so we got the hard rock, we got the acoustic, and then we got the filler, and then we have this Quicksilver. Quicksilver sucks. Quicksilver is the worst Pink Floyd song. I can already say that. It just is. Richard Wright on organ the entire time. It's just him doing whatever weird sounds he can make out of the organ, but it doesn't even sound good. It doesn't even sound like On the Run, which is, experimentation, but to a good cut measure. It's only 3 minutes. Quicksilver is 7 minutes. It just drones on, just atmospheric, weird, pointless organ that shouldn't be in this at all. It's just, you can't listen to it on its own. You could probably only listen to it if it was in the movie. It's just, it's pointless. It's the worst song I've ever heard. Well, that's a stretch, but it's one of the worst. It's boring, it's pointless, it shouldn't be in there. That's all I'm going to say. So there's a lot of filler, there's a lot of contrasting themes, there's a lot of pointless ramblings, and so that's why this album isn't good. It's just not good. There's some spotlight moments, there's some good folk, some good heavy metal, but it doesn't go together. That's why I'm giving this album a 2 out of 5. A 2. Because the redeeming qualities of course are of course the good melodies that you can find in here. But that's backed by a lot of filler. That's why I give it a 2 out of 5 for a soundtrack from the film More by Pink Floyd. Next review, Umaguma. Let's toss this album aside. I don't even want to think about it. Bad Pink Floyd album. Bad. So, next review, Umaguma. I will try to get that done on Sunday. This is Mr. Maximus' film. This is More by the Pink Floyd. I could get on a bigger rant about it, but I won't. So, I'll see you on Sunday, and, stay tuned. Goodbye.